What's your relationship with your Oscars? Where you put them?
One of them is in China somewhere. I'm not sure where, but the other, my dad has it,
Oh.
so he's probably put it somewhere that everyone can see. The other one, I think, is in storage here.
Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Welcome to the third season of Talking Pictures, a movie memories podcast brought to you by HBO Max and Turner Classic Movies. We're doing things a bit differently this time, as you can already tell. If you're watching, we are on video and we're shooting from my home office. There's a note in here from the producer that I was talking about with her where I would now gesture and say, my home office, or maybe my home office. I don't really know which way looks better on the camera. So it reminds me of a story my brother told me. My brother, Josh Mankiewicz, correspondent at Dateline NBC. He's been there for 30 years, and he taught me how to be on TV. He's much, much older than I am, much, much older. And one of the things he told me not to do when I was doing a live shot is don't say, here at the hospital, and then point at the hospital, which is right behind you. Like, we know you're at the hospital. You don't have to point at it. It's a building. So anyway, this is my home office. We're breaking this season of Talking Pictures into two parts, starting with a mini run of episodes featuring current Oscar nominees. My first guest is a two-time Oscar winner, writer, and director Chloe Zhao. Chloe's latest movie, Hamnet, is up for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Chloe is nominated for Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay, a screenplay she co-wrote with Maggie O'Farrell, whose novel they were adapting. Chloe's leading lady in Hamnet is Jessie Buckley. She's nominated for Best Actress. Her performance, I got to say, blew me away. Everybody I know who's seen the movie has been enormously taken with Jessie Buckley's performance. With her nomination for Hamnet, Chloe Zhao is the first female director to be nominated twice for Best Director. Back in 2021, she won for directing Nomadland. She also won an Oscar for producing it. It won Best Picture. Hamnet is an adaptation of a novel, again by Maggie O'Farrell, telling the imagined story of young William Shakespeare and his wife, Agnes.
I know who you are.
Who am I?
Well, I don't know you, but I've heard.
I'm the daughter of a forest witch.
Yes, people say that, but that's.
I am my mother's daughter. I've learnt many things from her. What are you looking at?
You.
Why? I thought you were a man of words, Master Tutor.
That was a scene from Hamnet. Here is my really open and quite lovely conversation with the film's co-writer and director, Chloe Zhao. Chloe Zhao, welcome to Talking Pictures. It's an honor to talk to you. I mean, I feel like a little hyperbolic, but it's a big deal. Thanks for joining us.
What does hyperbolic mean?
Like that, too much. Everything is the best. Everything's the greatest. She's one of the 3 greatest actors of all time.
I see. I learned a new word today.
So basically, what I'm telling you is this is just another ordinary filmmaker. I don't even care that you're doing this. It's whatever. Not a big deal.
That's perfectly way to describe me.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So, almost every director, this job has given me this unbelievable opportunity to talk movies with, Martin Scorsese and Paul Thomas Anderson, Ava DuVernay, and many of them on this very show. Steven Soderbergh, one of my favorite directors, and all of them had American movies imprinted on them at a very young age. Almost all of them had at an early age a desire to be a filmmaker in some regard because of the movies they saw. I want to know what your life was like growing up in Beijing until you were 14 or 15. And what did you see? What did you know? What were you exposed to? And what did or didn't you know about American films?
I never thought wanting to be a filmmaker until I was in my 20s. Even then, I was sort of going like, is this the path? Let me give it a go. I just knew I wanted to tell stories, whether it's on a page or with my own body. I just wanted to express things, express emotions, express to connect, because I didn't do well in the classrooms. I couldn't quite focus on the stuff they were teaching me. And we didn't have a lot of films from the West at the time. Once a week, we had one Western films on the television on Sunday. And I remember a big one was Terminator 2. That was probably, if not the first one I saw. And then True Lies, Ghost, Sister Act. Like these films definitely blew my mind at the beginning, going, wow, this must be what the other side of the world looked like.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger and Whoopi Goldberg were clearly to you the two biggest stars in the world.
Yeah, and I remember seeing Basic Instinct for the first time. And then recently met Sharon Stone for the first time. I was like, you have no idea.
So what did you see? So how you were still in China when you saw Basic Instinct?
Mhm, mhm.
And why was that different? Like, why did, as you made that, why did that blow your mind? Because of because it was sexy? Like True Lies has some sexy. Jamie Lee Curtis is sexy and True Lies, but it's a
Yeah,
different kind of
True
thing.
Lies was sexy. Yeah, but Basic Instinct has a whole nother level
Yeah.
of sexiness. You know, a lot of these movies I mentioned, I mean, Ghost was sexy.
Oh, Ghost is definitely sexy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but then in probably 1999, I remember, I forgot the exact date, but I first time saw Happy Together.
Oh,
One Car
yeah.
Ways Happy Together. Talk about sexy.
Right. And
That's when I think that was probably the first time I went. I guess that was the first smaller film I've seen that isn't a big Hollywood film. That is that feels like a very kind of art house. You know,
definitely.
isn't something that's going to be massively popular, and it also doesn't always make sense. You know, it's swimming in mystery a bit more than the traditional storytelling, and I was very inspired by that as well.
Did you understand or get at the time that it was, that it was a big deal? I mean, on any level to have a
Mm,
movie about gay men, right? But that,
um,
uh,
n-
and that it
no,
might even have been maybe maybe it was less of a big deal over there than it.
it was not a big deal for me, for us, because I grew up with Japanese anime, and mm, two men as a lover is the common storyline. So that was not a big deal for us. It was a big deal in the sense that it's two of the greatest male actors in the history of Asian cinema acting
Right.
together, right? And at their best work, to see them together, that was a big deal for me because I was such a big fan of these two actors.
Happy Together, I think, was 1997. So you're like 14 years old, right? So you saw that like just before you then left China.
Yeah. And then the first, oh my God. Okay. So the first time I've seen Western films in the West, I didn't speak English at all. I can say hello. That's it. And I went to the theaters and I saw a double feature of The Matrix and The Mummy. And I didn't understand. And I understood everything from The Mummy because it's obvious what's happening. And The Matrix, I was so confused. I was so confused, but I thought Keanu Reeves was really cute. And then later on, when I did speak English and I watched The Matrix, I was like, this is genius. Um, Although I had known Ghost in the Shell very well, so I had a feeling what was happening. But to then watch The Matrix once you know English, you speak the language, to actually hear what they're saying, it was pretty profound.
So I mean, it is so incongruous with my life, the life of my friends. I mean, I had a friend who took his like junior year, full year abroad in China, and he
Yeah.
speaks Chinese now. But he's coming back. You're already 20. Um, w- uh, that you would go as a 15-year-old, right? 15 years old. You'd go from
Yeah.
from Beijing to London to what was called Brighton College, right? It was a high school, and you would
It was in Brighton.
yeah, and you didn't speak any English at all. Like that's in like how who thought this was a good idea?
I thought that was happening like very common. People, I think that was the beginning of like study abroad, international students all in the West. No, like it's quite common thing.
But you didn't speak any English. I mean, it's hard to like.
I
Was
mean,
it?
I can say like, where's the bathroom, stuff like that.
Oh, that's
Like
all you need.
I had
That's really all you. Hello, and where's the bathroom? That can get you a long way.
I have the basic you know, the thing is I did learn English when I was in China. I learned writing, you know, so I know the grammatic structure a bit, like your regular early high school French level, right? But I didn't you don't practice speaking. So when I got to Brighton, the school was very, you know, this is a very nurturing learning experience being in the boarding school, very immersive. So very quickly I was able to pick up English. Not, you know, not well enough to watch The Matrix, but
But you were on your way. Well enough to watch The Mummy, but not The Matrix.
you don't have to know. The Mummy is very clear what was happening.
I do. I totally get it. I get it. You can
Yeah.
watch The Mummy with the sound off. You got it. So what's the? But then you go to like it's crazy. Like people don't do what you did. I mean, it's like you left then at 17 or 18 to come to,
Yes, I got to LA when I was around 19.
and you took a year of high school in Los Angeles.
Yeah, LA High.
You went to LA High. You went to this big public school right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And why did you go to Los Angeles? What drew you there? This is your decision. Like this isn't your parents' decision. This is you. This is you saying, no, this is where I'm going. I want to do this. Why?
Because I wanted, you know, I was given an opportunity to go to America, and at the time I wasn't sure what city to go to school, and it would be on my own, right? So I think about this is just my own experience, and Los Angeles, because is where Hollywood is, and because I watch all these Hollywood movies, I for some reason thought it would feel like home. It would feel friendly. I know that place. I've seen it in the movies. And of course, I was humbled by reality in the best way possible. And I think you truly learn to love a place when you're, or a person when you're disillusioned of your own projection onto them.
Yeah. So it was a good year. It just wasn't what you expected. But of course, it wasn't what you expected.
It was the best year in the sense that it was the most life-changing year because you know 1999 in downtown LA had just gone through some pretty big events right before that, and you can still feel the tension in the city. And I have had such a ignorant point of view of what America is. And so to be dropped right in the middle of that and looked around and go, this is not what I saw in the movies. Because the movies back then, it's not like it has the variety as we have today in terms of representing all walk of life. And then I lay high. I had these incredible teachers. And one of them, Mr. Feinstein, who taught government, was so taken by my ignorance. he asked me to stay behind every day and to just teach me what is going on in the world. And 10, 13 some years later, when I came back for Film Independent for a lab, and I remember going back to LA High to look for him. And then Mr. Moy, the other teacher, who was Mr. Feinstein's teacher back then, because Mr. Feinstein was older, it's been at LA High forever. And then he taught students who then become teachers, right? Mr. Moy told me that Mr. Feinstein is in the hospital, he was dying. And then, but gave me the phone number. So I sat outside on the steps outside LA High. I called the hospital and I be able to get through to his wife. And I said, can you remind him I'm like that Chinese girl with the British accent that came, and then he, you know, and then she put me on the phone. She said he only can talk for a little bit. He's not doing well. And then he was pretty much on his deathbed at the time. And then, but she managed to put me on the phone with him. I said, "Do you remember me?" And he said, "Of course I remember you." And then he said, "That was my last year of teaching. And I've been teaching for 35 years before that. And I sort of lost some of my passion because, I felt like kids don't always want to learn what I have to teach. But then you were so ignorant. You knew so little about the world that I'm from, and so hungry." And he reenacted my passion for teaching. And I told him, "Mr. Feinstein, I'm going to make a movie on the Lakota reservation. I hope I can show it to you." But by the time I made my first film, he had passed away. So, but it was because of him that I ended up studying American politics in college and became interested in this country. And I would not be here today if this wasn't for him.
That is, I'm really glad you told that story. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. Also, and a reminder today, I hope if anybody listens to any part of this interview, I want it to be that. Because look we spend a lot of time in America now, especially in politics, like dismissing teachers.
Yeah.
And they're the greatest. They're
Yeah.
the greatest. They make very little money. They sacrifice them. 35 years this guy did it. And even 35 years in, he got excited about helping you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, oh my God, that's such a wonderful story. I'm so glad you got to talk to him. And you made him happy. I guarantee it. You made him happy there as he was ill.
Yeah.
You lived you lived in Koreatown by yourself. And
Yeah.
like,
I can tell. Right behind the Sizzler.
oh yeah, I've eaten at on Wilshire.
I think they're still there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had offices there when I did a radio show, and our offices were there, and we'd go to the Sizzler. The Sizzler's a little disappointing. Like when I was a kid, Sizzler was like the greatest steakhouse
Not
in the
for
world.
me. When I first came to America, it was like so exciting.
No, don't get me wrong. I was excited to go. I was just like, in my head, this was a better experience. So that you mentioned that decision to become a filmmaker,
Yeah.
and so I'm definitely struck by that because you didn't have this background in films. Well, first of all, before I get to that though, and I know this probably comes up in every interview, but it is a stunning little. So you've been writing fan fiction for how long, and are you still writing it?
Since I was 12 years old. I No, I don't physically write it because I don't have time. But I consider, what is fan fiction? Let's take cynicism out for a second, or my fear of this, what I'm saying being misquoted, which is too late anyways, in my life. The- Fan fiction is because you fall in love with a character
Yeah.
that's existing, whether it's a human being that's in front of you or in a book or in a movie. And you love that character so much, you want to give that character another universe to live in and their story to continue. So when I met Brady Gendrew, the cowboy from The Rider,
Yeah.
I made a fan fiction film of him because I had a deep love and curiosity about him as a human being, as a character. So I don't think I've stopped doing that ever. I think I'm still doing it today, just in a different format.
I think cynicism about fan fiction, and I probably was at one time cynical about it because at one level it sounds silly, but I mean, here's what's silly, spending your day scrolling through Instagram. If you'd rather write a story about your favorite
Yeah.
character, that's definitely more productive and more interesting. So, yeah, and that's, I guess, what the writer is. Right, it is because it's almost his life story, but it's different. You changed a couple of things and significant things. I watched it again last night. I hadn't seen it since it came out. It's so good, so moving.
Thank you.
At what point did you, as you say, became obsessed with the American Western?
Well, after I made The Writer, I understood in a more embodied way the relationship between man and nature in that lifestyle. And so then, having also lived in the heartland for 7 years by then, no, 6 years, South Dakota 4, and then Denver 2. When you drive through these tiny roads they carved out in the Rocky Mountains, right? And then you're looking at just how incredibly humbling that landscape is. I keep thinking about what was it like for the pioneers to came from the East Coast and even like from the England. And then I wish I was there. It's more like you feel more like the Shire over there, right? And then you come here and you get into with your horse, and then your wagon, and then you arrive at the Rocky Mountains. I think God in a way that it's the most embodied way. And then the weather in the heartland is you're a couple minutes from life and death. So any kind of civilization, idealism, and intellectualism you build to identify yourself is stripped away in an instant when you hit that landscape, because you are humbled to actually you're first and foremost human and a tiny little part of this bigger thing. And therefore, the Western lifestyle, and of course, deeply influenced by the indigenous culture that have lived that lifestyle for a long time, ended up creating this really interesting this paradoxical culture, that's this coexistence of, again, chaos and order. I think that is then became a big DNA of Western films. And I'm kind of embarrassed that I haven't really seen them, but I've seen, the version I had access to, again, a lot of anime, Japanese films, Star Wars. There's like things that are inspired by the Western, or they've inspired each other. So then after The Rider, I had a few years of like, let me watch some Westerns, and really loved them.
Do you remember any particular that grabbed you?
I loved Red River.
Yeah.
I really loved Jeremiah Johnson. I do really enjoy the revisionist westerns. My Darling Clementine was amazing. But Unforgiven, love, love, love.
It's interesting to me, and we're going to take a break in a sec, though. But how you so many, when you talk about the westerns, and certainly in The Rider and Brady's character, like these are it's the men who you start talking about, and the relationship with men to the land. And
Yeah.
I like, and you, but as you see in The Rider, like your character, Brady's character has he's an incredibly emotional kid. This is not a he has moments of stoicism, but this is not a stoic character, or solely a stoic character.
I just know the cowboys I met have a lot of emotions. They don't. I think there is. I don't know if it's because our films made them very stoic, or there's nothing stoic about them. They're deeply passionate and very emotional. The closer they are connected to their animals and to their nature, the more they're connected to their animal self. That doesn't suppress their emotions.
Chloe, I got to talk about Hamnet and your filmmaking style a little bit. We're going to do that when we come back with Chloe Zhao. So stick around. So, okay. So after the Rider, you do Nomadland, which is congratulations on that Oscar. You have 2 Oscars for that, right? You got a Best Picture Oscar also for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Do you are they I did a story once on Richard Dreyfuss, who is an interesting person to know. And Richard got his Oscar for The Goodbye Girls, Best Actor, 1977. He was, I think, until Adrian Brody came along, the youngest to win the Best Actor. And he used to put his Oscar in the refrigerator so that whenever people came to the house and went to get themselves a drink, they'd be like, "Oh, your Oscar." It's very, still makes me laugh. And my uncle Joe Mankiewicz had 4 Oscars, and he made sure they were on the front mantle. You saw them, you couldn't not see them.
Really?
Where do you What's your relationship with your Oscars? Where you put them?
One of them is in China somewhere. I'm not sure where, but the other, my dad has it, so he's probably put it somewhere that everyone can see. The other one, I think, is in storage here, or it could be at my best friend's house. I'm not sure. When I moved a couple years ago out of Ojai, it was such a I was it's somewhere. It's still I. The thing is, we had it's just yeah it's not like, I don't know. I'm actually, maybe this can answer to some of the questions you were asking me earlier. I'm very nomadic.
Yeah.
I'm a nomadic. I used to feel like something's wrong with me. I'm trying to keep healing myself, so I'll become less nomadic. But after like 15 years of healing, I kind of go, you know what? A lot of other things healed, but this hasn't changed. So maybe I just have some of my Mongolian DNA ancestor. Maybe I'm just nomadic by nature. So I tend to not be attached to objects. People I get attached to, but not objects. But I know it's there. It's like I know that was an honor I received. Whether that statue is there or not, it doesn't change it.
No, I read. I love your relationship. First of all, that's the greatest answer ever asked to where your Oscars. And like one of them's in China somewhere, and the other one's probably in
You should
storage.
ask Frances McDormand. I
Um,
can't share her Oscar statue story to you because I didn't get her
it's her
permission. But
show.
you should ask her.
I got you, and I'll ask her. I'm eager to talk to her. I met her a couple times. No, I know, because if you win an Oscar here, you're not. I saw in an interview Barry Jenkins, who's a wonderful filmmaker, and he was talking to you, and he said, "I know you don't care about awards, but actually, I think he was wrong. I don't mean to call him out. I just mean specifically in this case, you do care." And
I do.
you said it. You said at one point, like anybody who says they don't, it doesn't want, they don't want an Oscar, I think is not being honest.
There's like 5% people probably are speaking honestly, and the others. Here's what I meant by that. We might not like for example, my true happiness when we were dancing as a village in the Globe Theater after we wrapped Hamnet, that kind of joy is never going to be felt by an external validation. It's never going to be felt. Like when you're creating, right, magic hour, and then everybody's moving in one unison, and you're capturing things you didn't think was possible, like that kind of joy. No, so then it doesn't matter you win a lottery or win how many Oscars, it's never going to be replaced. So there's always a level of like, I can't fully feel that kind of happiness. So in that sense, I don't care. But when you're put in that situation, when you're in consideration, in contention, it's human nature to want to belong, to want to be accepted, to want to be validated. And not so long ago, if we are not accepted, rejected by our tribe, we could die in the wilderness. It's actually in our DNA. When you get a bad review, when your film get a rotten tomato, when you don't win a bunch of awards, when you don't get nominated, there is a feeling in your stomach, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. That is actually because especially for people whose work is a huge part of their lives, you feel this like slight projected rejection from your tribe. And that can signal danger, that I might be left alone and starved to death or killed by other animals. It's okay to feel a little uncomfortable when you don't get it.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you want it because you're in contention for it, and it's human nature, and you don't want to feel rejected. But then once you have it, then it's just an object, and you are not attached to objects, right?
Yeah.
So if you're lucky enough, fortunate enough to win one for Hamnet, I wonder what country it will be in 5 years. I feel like
Probably in the UK. I probably leave it in the UK, because
right,
it's nice to
right. One of
put it at
them's
the
in a
Globe
shack.
Theater.
One of them's in a shack in Wales. One's in China, and the other one's in storage.
What I like the most is that if somebody would want it, like somewhere that is actually meaningful to them, that actually could be good for them. Like say if the Globe Theater or Shakespeare, whatever, they like, we want to have it in the Shakespeare museums. I'll be like, oh, that's good. then they could be a part of the culture.
And by the way, it's good to your father. I mean, a parent. I mean, if my daughter won something like that and gave me the thing, I'd be like, oh my God, of course.
Oh,
I'd give
you have no idea how many parties my dad threw in the name of that.
I bet. But I so let's talk about the dance because yesterday I got sent on an Instagram video that you had made with the whole crew. I guess right at the end of wrapping the final incredibly emotional scene. You shot, was that the last thing you guys shot?
No, I have some visual effects stuff, but in the globe, yes.
Okay, so it was the end of shooting in the theater there. You wrapped that incredible emotional end of the movie. Really powerful. I'll just remember that. I want to remember the look between your leads, Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal, forever. It's great. It's beautiful, beautiful, uplifting, hopeful. And
Thank you.
and then you guys did this dance video. It is intoxicating. I don't like dance videos. I don't care. I mean, I sent this to everyone. I watched it. Yeah, and that's not the only time you guys danced during production, right?
I did rap party the next day. We showed all the dance takes stitched together. It was around 30 minutes long.
So you do dance takes, and that's by
Once or twice a week, yeah.
why?
Well, in my Instagram post, if you read it, it explains
I
why.
didn't read it. I watched the video. I'm an American. I don't read. Crying out loud. Just watch the video.
The short version is that emotions, I believe, is energy in motion. Now, I do believe that it's important to talk about our emotions, but ultimately to move it, we have to feel it, and then to integrate it, we have to feel it, and then to move it, we have to move it, physically, and get it out of the body. So when an actor make the commitment to do this work, they come to set, and then we all together get them to feel those emotions. Is also our responsibilities to get them to discharge it, not just the actors, the crew as well. Everyone there is, especially you work in this way that is very interdependent and is moving as a company, is important to get everybody to shake it off.
Paul Mescal, as I'm sure you've read and had quoted you, said about you, Chloe Zhao, she's asking her actors to be incredibly vulnerable, and I think she gives you that confidence by being vulnerable herself. I've rarely had an intimacy that I have with Chloe. That's a pretty great thing for an actor to say about his director. So when he says that you're vulnerable yourself, how are you vulnerable? How do you show that vulnerability? Is that just how you go through life, or is there something particular on a film that you would do with your actors?
I think going through life, to me, vulnerability is the strongest thing you can have, strongest quality you can have. It is incredibly difficult to be vulnerable. You need a lot of inner strength to be vulnerable. And so it's not a weakness per se, but we live in a society that it is not encouraged, or there isn't a lot of safe space for that. And so I'm not saying that walk around with my vulnerability, just soar around as strangers, but but I try to, especially the auditioning process of who is coming into this ecosystem was very, very thorough. Everyone from a PA to an actor. It doesn't matter your resume, your status. It is about whether you're willing to be vulnerable, and whether you're willing to also be a container for other people's vulnerabilities, right? So so as a leader, I've learned in Hamden more than ever, because I think I'm been aging and growing as well, that the strength of leadership truly comes from interdependence and relationships, and how to care for a ecosystem as opposed to dominance and power. So if I am having a difficult day, or if a scene triggered me emotionally, I will try to find the balance of needing to be there to make sure that I can work, but also not suppressing my emotions. If it's really strong, it's coming through, it's because it's for a reason, especially me in this kind of leadership position. So I allow myself to cry. I allow myself to take 5 in front of everyone, and I allow myself to receive Paul's comfort, Jesse's comfort, our still photographer's comfort, and share something with them. And when you work that way, everybody then start to feel safe enough to bring their own lives to work as well. I can't speak for other industries, but in the industry of storytelling, I think we're lucky if our collaborators is willing to bring themselves and show themselves.
Yeah, and if you don't bring part of yourself, certainly for the actors, if you don't bring part of yourself, it's gonna, I think you're not gonna have the performance that you want. Certainly not the performance that you want from
For me, yes.
the writing of it. So you were, tell me what I have right here. You were in New York. You were hanging out with Jesse. It was an emotional time for whatever reason
Yeah.
for you guys, but the way life can be emotional for people. And then you, like, you didn't fly. You had to go back to LA. You didn't fly back. You took a train back, which is like super romantic. Why did you do
No, it's not romantic.
that?
It is
Yeah.
romantic if you have time. If
Yeah.
you do it in 4 days and take the really brutal route, which you only change it once in Chicago, that is not romantic. It's it's a lot of like being on the train
Yeah, no,
without a
the train,
break.
I get it. The train sounds more romantic than it actually is. When you're
It is
just,
if you have time, and if you have time, you take you're just traveling. But for me, it was a container. It was a crucible.
but you wrote a lot of the script there in those 4 days.
I
Yeah.
did. Maggie O'Farrell, who wrote Hamnet, and who is my co-writer
Who
for the
wrote the novel
screenplay.
and then co-wrote the movie with you. Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie had already done a version by then that is chronological, it's because the book is not chronological. So we took all the scenes and then from the book and the themes that we want to address, the events that's important to us. Maggie had put them as a first draft. And that first draft has sat with me for a while. And I was still trying to kind of, there were bits that we know we need, scenes we need that's not in the book, right? So like this sort of filling it up with the film for the second draft, um, it's been in me for a while, and that happens to me quite a bit actually. Is that I don't really talk to people about it, and I let it stew. I can feel just everything, almost everything I happens in my life, both internally and externally, begin to serve the film. There's no accidents. Everything is synchronicities. Is that once the portal is opened, then everything started to feed it, and then you keep feeding it, and then until a point where it started to hurt my body. I started to wake up, everything is sore. It feels like it needs to come out, and then that's when I needed a like a crucible. I needed a ceremony, some kind of ritual to get it out. And in this case, the the dream work and the big emotional experience Jesse and I had, I was supposed to finish Dracula first, but I remember that bubbling, and I called my producing partners. I think I need to hold on Dracula. I think this is gonna come right now. And so then I took that train ride and pretty much had the second draft by the time I got to Union Station. I remember waiting for Uber thinking I had to call my producing partner again and say, I think I might faint. So if if you don't hear from me for now in an hour and I'm not home, you might want to call somebody.
So you obviously slept, but very little, right? You were
No, I didn't
mostly.
sleep. I did not. It was yeah. No. There's no sleeping.
Um, Real quick, and we got to get to the Super 8, but I'm a couple of things. One, um, you mentioned the dream work, which I'm curious about. I'm not sure we have time for it. Let me ask it this way. So you say you when that portal opens, you have to walk through, and it comes out of you and it's physical and it feels like what if you don't have that and you still have to write it? Like, can you make it happen? Can you create a scenario where somehow that portal opens for you? Or is it always just worked itself out?
Yeah, that's a really good question because the standard way I was taught how this works is that there's a goal you want to reach, and then you do the steps to get there, right? And that goal sometimes is defined by festival schedules, or when you need to do something, or some kind of imposed goal that is ego based. And but I have gotten to a point where I do truly believe that again, back to nature, something very important to me that fed me as a storyteller for a decade, over a decade now. And in nature, everything has to have its own time. So meaning that you can't get to the spring if you don't tend the soil in the fall and let the soil compost in the winter. And the right bird is going to fly by and drop in a seed. And that seed is in the right condition and the perfect timing because you've tended your soil in the winter. And you know what I mean by that? I mean, any kind of, you're reading, you're watching other movies, you're traveling, you're doing inner work, you are you're dancing, you're having a child, you are losing a child, all that, right, is tending the soil. And then that right seed is going to land. And then you can feel the entire power of Mother Earth is behind you, pushing that shoot up. And in nature, that's the one that's going to survive the spring storms. I think that what we do is, of course, we put up greenhouses, we build structures, we try to mass produce a lot of things for a reason, because we also mass consume. But I have learned in the last decade that's also have its place. It's fine. But I'm hungry for the older way of telling stories in this for the sake of balance, right? So for me, unless I can feel that all the timing is lining up, it's the right season, the right time, the vegetable is seasonal, I won't push myself. I won't go for that out of season one.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you. Okay. I'll tell you what, we're going to take one more break. We're going to come back with the Super 8 with Chloe Zhao and a couple other things that I'm going to ram in there because I literally must. This has been great. We're coming right back on Talking Pictures. Okay, so now for the Super 8, Chloe, these are our set questions we ask all our guests. And then there's one wild card question as well for you, which you haven't heard yet, which I'm a little nervous about. Okay. All right. You ready? Here we go. Chloe, what was your most memorable movie watching experience?
I thought the first time seeing Avatar was pretty mind-blowing.
You saw it in the theater?
Yeah. It was like, what am I looking at? Yeah. I think Cameron's films Titanic, Cameron's films in general, because I think he really pushed the science part of like what is possible, and that this is a language, and it just inspires awe. Like, oh, what am I? How is this possible?
And you go back to True Lies, and I don't know, did he direct Terminator 2 or just the first Terminator?
Oh, also Aliens, also Aliens. Oh my God. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Aliens was also another film I saw earlier back in China. And I had to put on some Chinese martial arts film afterwards by Jet Li, because I feel like I need the energy to balance. Because I felt like that was like, now I know what it's called. It's called the collective unconscious. I'm like, something is grabbing me.
It's funny. So for me, it was Alien. It was the first one that I saw on television in my room, and I had to keep turning it off. Like I would turn it off
Same,
and walk around the room
same.
and then turn it back on. It was so terrifying to me. Okay. If you had to get a tattoo of a line from a movie, what would it be?
I apologize. I got these questions right before I started this. So I might change my mind. So I see you in the future. I might say that's not true. But in the short time, my reaction will be, may the force be with you.
Sure. Okay. That's very solid. Can't go wrong with that. Did
Yeah.
Star Wars make it when did you see Star Wars? How old were you when you finally saw Star Wars?
We didn't have Star Wars in China. And so I first saw Star Wars maybe actually very soon after my double feature of The Matrix and The Mummy was the big premiere of Phantom Menace. And me, unlike everyone else, did love the prequels, and I really loved those movies. And so was like, what is this? You know, another one of those big all moments. And so I went back and watched the original ones on videotapes when I was in Brighton College. And that was another big moment in my life as a storyteller. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm in love.
So you got to see them in order. I mean, you saw the prequels first. So
I saw the first prequel.
the
Yeah,
first
the
one at
first
least. Yeah.
prequel,
Yeah.
and then the
And
other three. Yeah.
and then jump to Star Wars and Empire.
So I've
Okay.
had an experience where not a lot of people didn't, which means I met Anakin Skywalker as a baby, as a
Right.
little boy, before I met him as Darth Vader. Hey, how many people can say that?
That's right. Not many. That's true. That's right. That's an interesting way to see it. Okay. If you're somebody you're interested in, somebody you want to date, what movie would you show them?
It's got to be a Werner Herzog film. I would say Land of Silence and Darkness, because I think it's more fun that way. I just throw them down in the deep end. I think I was deciding between Into the Abyss and Land of Silence and Darkness. I feel like Into the Abyss might be a little too intense. I think Land of Silence and Darkness, Silence and Darkness is one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever created.
He's amazing. He always, I mean, I've seldom been more nervous going into an interview. I've done 2 very long form interviews with him than I am with Werner, who I'm positive is going to see right through me, right, and expose me for the charade that I am. But he's awesome. Of course, he's awesome. He's very
Yeah.
funny. Okay, Chloe, what movie villain do you secretly relate to, or you think has been misunderstood?
That's very simple. Darth Vader.
Okay, now for this one, you're a thief. Imagine a vast warehouse where every prop, every costume from every movie ever is there, and you're a thief. What do you steal? One thing.
If I could steal 2, because the one things I want is small, I would take the ring. I would take the ring from Lord of the Rings, and then I would take Harry's wand from Harry Potter, but not the other wand, the outer wand. I'll take that one.
Not the later one.
No, sorry, not the other one. I would take a Snape's wand.
Oh, okay, all right. Why Snape and not Harry?
Actually, Snape and Darth Vader, I would say both of them.
Or
My favorite villains.
misunderstood villains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a movie? So what movie makes you? I know you can cry. I cry also. What movie makes you cry? What movie makes you cry without fail?
The thing is, I cry in everything. I even cry in comedies. What
Yeah, me too.
movie makes me cry? Oh, I mean, Tree of Life makes me cry some existential tears. Malik's films makes me cry.
All right. Is there a movie that makes you laugh without fail? I'm sure there is.
Anything that Seth Rogen is in, I think he's really funny.
I mean, this is why one of the many reasons why you're interesting, because you go right from.
The tattoo thing. I know you say films, but if I'm allowed to use TV shows, I would tattoo from WandaVision. What is grief if not love persevering? That quote basically is Hamlet. So isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful. I would.
But it's a TV show, so.
No, it's okay. We know there's no rules for this at all. My favorite grief quote from a movie, obviously, is from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when the principal says to Mia Sarah, thinking that her grandmother has died, between grief and nothing, I'll take grief. And she says,
Ooh.
Yeah,
She was
except it's funny, and she goes, "Yeah, thanks." But it's good. But it's a kind of a nice line though. But it's in the middle of a comedy.
that's good. I got chills.
Yeah, we'll see it. I'm not sure you get chills when you actually see it, but you will laugh. Okay, so now we got to do. Oh, sorry. And what movie do you appreciate now more as you get older? In particular, there must be many.
Casablanca.
Does
More
that
and
mean
more. More and more.
you didn't? How old were you? When did you see it for the
Actually,
first
no,
time?
that's not true. That's not a good answer because I appreciate the first time I watched it.
Yeah, but you can
You know,
still appreciate
also,
one.
I'll tell you what, like Interstellar, the more I watch it, the more I go, this is really good.
Oh, you're not prepared for this. Yeah, guys. You have the survival skills of a Boy Scout troop.
Well, we got this far in our brains, farther than any human in history.
Well, not far enough.
But I appreciate the first time I saw it. So no, I don't know. Yeah, it's
It's
hard for me to
unacceptable.
answer.
It's okay. You can still appreciate it more. It doesn't mean you didn't appreciate it. I got it.
There
It's good
are
for you.
films that I watch multiple times, like the two I just mentioned. I don't always do that. So I don't watch film over and over like most people do.
So here's a wild card. You didn't get this question, and there's some part of this question that puts you on the spot a little bit, but I think in a minor way, and you're allowed to get out of it if you want.
Okay.
Is there a classic American movie, like released anytime between, let's say, the 30s and the 80s, with sound, that you had never seen, but have seen at some point in the last, whatever, 30 years, and that everyone loves, and that you were like, meh, like, and I don't mean like, because you might not want to say, you don't want Martin Scorsese to hear that like you didn't like Taxi Driver, or but by the way,
I could be like so extremely like this could be risky for me.
I want you to say it, but I get why you wouldn't.
But but the 80s, you say 80s?
Yeah, I picked the
right?
80s. It could be later. There's no rules to this. You could pick a movie.
Here's what I say: back to the Westerns.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say, and this is very probably controversial thing for me to say, but I just didn't quite love The Searchers like everyone else said. I'm gonna. I watched it, I turned it off, and it took me 3 times to. I never got to the end. And that was okay. I prefer Shane.
I didn't like it when I first saw it at all. So I totally came around on it. And I watched it in part. One thing I would say about The Searchers, if you can watch it and listen to Peter Bogdanovich's commentary as it goes along, it's pretty amazing. And Peter revered John
It is
Ford.
amazing. It is amazing. It's just maybe there's something about it. Maybe I need to watch it. Maybe that will be my answer to my previous
Right,
question.
later movie, the other one. Okay, so we're done. I'm going to ask you one last question because I want to, and if I can.
There's more wild card, huh?
No, there's no Walker. This is not the Super 8. This is separate. But you said this in 2018, and I really just want to know if it's still true because I'm interested.
Probably not.
And it's no, but I mean, it's you wrote, I'm a pessimist, or you said, I'm a pessimist. People ask me, are you glass half full or glass half empty? And you said, I have no glass. Everything is gone. The glass is broken. My then now former boyfriend always says, can't you enjoy this? I don't know. I'm just not that kind of person. I get anxious every time I get a good review because all I can think about is the bad one that follows. The other shoe is going to drop. So now that was pre-Nomadland. That was pre-Oscar. That was pre-Hamnet. Are you still pessimistic? Does that still exist in that sense? Are you still waiting for even now, like after Hamnet and I guess are you about to do Dracula and Buffy and all these things? Like you got other exciting things coming up. Are you still pessimistic or are you confident now that good things will come, even if sometimes people don't like the thing you did?
How dare they? No, if you asked this question in such an interesting timing, because I had just had this conversation this morning with someone very important to me about the nomination and all this stuff, and it is not that I don't feel the most ecstatic joy when great things happen to me. Is that when there's something external happening to me, as opposed to something that comes from the source, from myself. I just cannot feel the same level of joy because it didn't come from inside. And that because I know, as somebody who is surrendered to the law of nature, the seasons comes and goes. All living things must die, passing through nature to eternity. On one hand of gain is loss. It's just it will always get balanced out. So because I know that I know, and then I cannot handle any dissonance within myself because I know that I can never truly just bring myself to feel the joy when something great happened to me, the level of joy that I feel like I should be feeling. So at a younger age, I thought something was wrong with me, that I am too pessimistic. But now I just think that I'm very okay with impermanence. And what I need to do is to make sure my life is filled with moments like dancing in the Globe Theater, that the joy is coming from deeply inside, and keep chasing the things and build a whole life chasing the things when the happiness is coming from the outside. So, but you know what? This is not bad, because even though it seems like, oh, you can't feel that level of joy like the other people do when you receive something good from the outside. But guess what? I also can handle when
Yeah,
something shitty happens. And
that's right.
pretty shitty things has happened to me in my career. And I feel like it didn't mean that I didn't suffer. I wasn't in pain, but it did not kill my garden and my forest. It's gonna grow back. Yeah.
Chloe Zhao, this was great. Thank you for being so honest and open. The movie is Hamnet. It's Oscar nominated multiple times, including Chloe, Best Picture nomination, Best Director for Chloe, many other nominations too. It's really an incredibly moving moment. It has as good an ending as movies can have. So Chloe, thank you so much, and thank when you talk to them, not that they'll care, but thank your great cast for all they delivered in that film.
I will. I will.
Well,
Thank you for having me, Ben.
of course, anytime. Look forward to seeing you in person. Thanks, Chloe.
Bye.
Man, I loved that interview with Chloe Zhao. By the way, her movie Hamnet is up for 8 Academy Awards. Chloe has 2 of them for Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. She co-wrote it with Maggie O'Farrell. It was Maggie O'Farrell's novel Hamnet that they adapted into the film. When I do these interviews, whether they're live in front of a crowd or whether they're for this podcast or whether they're on TV for TCM, I want the person I'm talking to reveal something authentic about themselves. I don't mean scandalous that's going to show up on page 6. I mean something where the audience will feel afterwards like, I know that person now. Chloe really did that. I mean, that story, which we had not heard before, which we did not know was coming, about that teacher who took an interest in her at Los Angeles High School and helped her in his last year of teaching, and sort of and then in the process found what had been missing for years in his life, that passion for teaching, that he found it by helping Chloe. And she was so moved in getting to speak to him before he died. That's exactly what you're looking for in these interviews. Some moment like that I'll carry with me for a long time. And I suspect most of you who listened to this interview and remember and liked it are going to remember that part of it. So I want to thank Chloe for, again, being her authentic self for that interview. That's our show. You can find many of the movies Chloe and I talked about over on HBO Max, and we made a list for you. It's in our show notes. James Kim produces and edits Talking Pictures. Our supervising producer is Darby Maloney. Video editor is Andrew David Lewis. Dory Stegman is our talent producer. Glenn Matullo mixes each episode. Set design by Raphael Loria and Leanne Reagan Barnes. Angela Carone is the director of podcasts at TCN. The team at HBO Max is executive producer Michael Glugstad, senior producer Allison Cohen-Sorokach, and producer Kenya Reyes. The HBO Max concept and design studio team is made up of Marta Duarte Diaz, Karen Guan, and Kendall Thomas. Production support from Jaco Friedman, Liz Winter, Jean Renault, and Kristen Hassel. Special thanks to Julie Baton. Thanks so much for watching and listening. See you next time.